Yeah, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com playing World of Tanks. The tank is a Shire WT. This is a German Tier 7 tank destroyer, and the map is Empire's Border. This is an assault defend game, and I'm on the defending team. So I'm going to show you a sniping position that you can use when you are on the defending team. This is going to be in the G1 area. I'm going to do approximately 1,850 damage. For most of the battle, I'm not going to be spotted. There's going to be lots of targets to shoot at. And I'm going to do around 400 spotting damage. Now, one thing you're going to notice is that there's two outcroppings of green bushes. I'm taking the one that's closer, and the reason why is because I do like to be closer to the enemy. And there's all these yellow-leaved trees in front of me. And those trees are going to protect you from being spotted by the enemy. So you don't have to be you don't have to be far behind the bush in order to avoid being spotted. This is a rear-mounted turret on this tank, which means I'm not going to have a lot of gun depression in the front. There is a little bit of a slope sloping downwards, but we're going to do okay. The other thing you're going to notice is that where the enemy is right now is located behind some buildings. I don't know if you can shoot those buildings down. I've only played this map 3 or 4 times, so I don't know the map yet. I haven't been playing for a while. So we're not going to be able to shoot at these tanks. So if you watch my videos, you'll know that I've been living in South America for the past 8 years. Now I am in the Philippines, which is why I have a high ping time, 270 millisecond ping time. And because I have a high ping time, I'm playing tank destroyers because tank destroyers don't need the quick reaction rate. And I'm going to give you an example. I had a game where my ally fired at an enemy tank. I saw the shot go out before I spotted the enemy tank, and the enemy tank was right in front of me. So I saw the shot go out, which means that the enemy tank was spotted. My ally aimed his gun, he fired at the enemy tank, he hit it, and then it appeared in my game. And that's what a 250 millisecond delay does. Remember, round one way it's 250 milliseconds, round trip it's 500 milliseconds, which is half a second. That's a long delay. So it does hurt my light tank scouting games. I'm going to do a lot more passive scouting. So you can see that there is a way to shoot at the tanks that are off in the distance there, and you'll notice that the T-29 has started to advance. Most of the enemy tanks are beyond the white circle, which means that they will not spot me, and I will be unable to spot them. By the time they spot me, most of the enemy tanks will be dead, and they'll have such low hit points that they won't be able to do anything about it. And we're going to win this game like 15-3 or something like that. So you can see that the enemy has advanced, and there's only 3 of us defending against 7 enemy tanks. And we're going to hold those 7 enemy tanks back, and we're going to kill them all. I'm up to 250 damage. So it does help if your allies are slowing down the enemy. You need a spotter, you need somebody to slow the enemy down, which is going to be your strong armor, and one sniper can do a lot of damage. The enemy is not spotted, but I'm guessing at where I think he is. He just knocked a tree down. Because no one is spotted, I was blind firing a little bit. Now this tank, he's moving behind another outcropping of bushes, which means he's not going to spot me when I fire at him right now. Score 7-5. I've got 940 damage. I like to use the auto aim. Having a high ping time makes it almost a requirement to use the auto aim, because if you don't, the gun will go all over the place, especially if you're moving fast. Now, there's a video on my channel, how to set the engine on fire. And I did a lot of testing, and what I discovered is you want to hit the engine, the rear of the tank, directly in the center and low on the rear armor. This is not the lowest point. I could have shot a little bit lower, and it would increase the chance of setting the engine on fire by about twice as much, because you're hitting the axle, the rear axle, which is part of the transmission, and you're hitting the engine with the same shot. Score is 8-5. I finally got spotted. I could have just stayed right there. Look at what's happening. Hitting him on the lower plate. I got 3 kills, 1,800 damage, 400 spotting damage, and that's the game. This is Dave from cheapbooks.com playing World of Tanks. The tank is the FV215B. This is a British Tier 10 heavy tank, and the map is Red Shire. First of all, I love this tank. I don't know if it's a gift tank or a reward tank or something like that, or if it's in the regular tech tree. I don't remember, but it's a wonderful tank, and I get great games. I'm pretty sure that I have a high win rate with this. Because we are going up against tanks that are likely to side scrape, I am going to probably start out with high explosive rounds. You'll notice that I have 12 AP, 12 APCR, and 11 HE rounds. I bring a third, and a third of all the rounds on most of my tanks, and I'm probably going to fire all of my HE rounds in this game. Now, I'm not going to do substantial amount of damage against those enemy tanks, but you're going to notice that they're going to stop coming out on my flank at some point in this game. And I am going to damage them when otherwise I would have ricocheted with AP or APCR rounds. So the first thing you do is you come to this position, which is in the B9 area, and you knock the tree down, and then you reverse and check your gun depression and check to see if you'll be able to hit those tanks. Now you want to hit him in what looks like the side of the tracks. That's where you're going to do the most damage. You want to avoid the frontal armor when you're using high explosive rounds. So I only did 132 damage on that tank. The next one I did 52 damage. I probably could have used an AP round against his armor. The next shot was 178 damage. You can 128 damage. You can look on the minimap and see where I'm aimed at. And you can see that those tanks are trying to side scrape, and they're in a very typical position where they like to play on this map. 130 damage. So I'm averaging around 130 damage per shot. I'm going after that FV215B183 because I think he has the weakest armor. Not only am I causing a little bit of damage, but I'm also tracking them. And what happens is, you know, they come and they poke out and they get tracked, and then allows my allies to hit them more. Looking for the best shot, hitting that side armor. Not doing a lot of damage against that Object 705A. Back to regular rounds. Now let's see how the regular rounds do. That one missed. You want to be able to hit that side turret if he gives it to you. That one was 430 damage. My team is retreating. And that one was a kill, 194 damage. And the reason why I was able to get those shots is because they're now coming out. And I would not have been able to do that in the beginning of the game when they were side scraping. All the shots would have bounced, or most of the shots would have bounced. Actually, this game I probably could have done it because the FV has weaker armor, and I probably could have found the lower plate on some of those tanks. Now, what happened here in this game is that this... if you look where the E100 is, the tank's basically advanced, which they normally don't do. And at some point, they were able to spot me. I guess I wasn't in a good enough position. Maybe I had to go back more. I'm not sure. But there's also, you can see that there's bushes right in front of me in the lower level, which is a position where you might be able to hide, but you're not going to get great angles. Okay, so the score is 3-2. I'm sure the game's going to be over soon. I was able to get 1,554 damage and 730 spotting damage. Obviously, the sniping position is useful, and you can try it and see what type of games you get. Hello, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com playing World of Tanks. This tank is the Foch B. This is a French Tier 10 tank destroyer. The map is Erlenberg. This is World of Tanks 1.2. This is a standard battle. I am going to get, I believe, around 5,000 damage in this game. This is also a 6-shot autoloader. The Foch is an amazing tank. It will give you high damage games. If you are looking to do a lot of damage, this is one of the tanks that will do it. I don't usually go to this position, but I often go to this position. You get pretty clear shots. You want to have a clear gap between the buildings, and you want to gauge if you think the enemy team is going to be aggressive or not. If they're not aggressive, you're going to have good shots from this position. See, our first customer showed up. With an autoloader, you don't want to waste a shot, and I obviously had a poorly shot. My third shot wasn't well thought out. So I started with 1,900 damage. That's basically 70 seconds into the game. I missed a shot on that tank. I have to reload. It is a long reload. I believe it's 40-second reload. But as you can see, I got 3 hits on the Batchat 25T and 2 hits on the TVP T50. They are Tier 10 tanks. The TVP is an excellent tank. You definitely want to do a lot of damage to that tank. And of course, the Batchat is also a good tank. Tracking them really helps when you got an autoloader, and I tracked him twice. Makes him a sitting duck. You do want to hit, when you're going at long range, you want to hit under the turret, and the reason why is because the entire side has approximately the same armor thickness. If you hit in the rear, there's a chance of setting the engine on fire, but there's also a chance that you'll miss the tank and hit over the engine deck. So I aim for just under the center of the turret so that if the shot goes a little high, it still has an increased chance of hitting the tank. There is a circle, your aiming circle. The shot is going to land somewhere within that circle, so you want as much of the tank within that circle as possible. Unfortunately, I missed that shot. He was out of the game easily. I'm up to 2,600 damage. I did get 2 additional hits on a Leopard. I'm averaging around 400 or 390 per shot, 390 damage. Normally I don't go this way, but I did see the Batchat 25T, and I wanted to line up a shot between the buildings. Nice, perfect. So that was 2 shots on the IS-4. I've got 3 left. It does take a long time to reload. So when you have 1 shot left, you might want to hold on to it. You might not want to fire. You have to gauge when to reload. And usually if you're traveling from one place to another, that's a good time to reload, especially if you have a slow tank. So because I was spotted, I'm going to hug the side of a building. There's no artillery in the game, but I didn't know where the enemy was. It ends up he was right in front of me. I think I'm going to flub the shots against him for various reasons. I do have a high ping time. It's 245 milliseconds, and I use the auto aim a lot when I have a high ping time. Because if you don't, the gun will go all over the place, and it's better for the gun to track the enemy tank when you have a high ping time. I believe that this enemy tank is going to make a mistake, and he's going to give me an open shot on his lower plate. We'll see what happens. So I did the auto aim on the first shot. Next one didn't penetrate. Look at that, he reversed. He made a big mistake. He should have gotten closer to me. He should have gotten as close to me as possible. You want to get close when you defend and reverse when you want to take a shot. When he reversed, he allowed me to hit his weaker armor. 3,700 damage. I did 475 and then 13 against the T110 E5. And I still have most of my hit points. I have more than half of my hit points left. 1,080 out of 1,850. Now, I did say I'm going to get around 5,000 damage in this game. In fact, I wonder if there's going to be a game where I get a lot of kills. I don't remember. Again, go for under the turret. Aim for under the turret. That shot missed. I don't aim in all the way. I fire the shot when I think that the circle has encircled the majority of the tank. So sometimes I will miss like I did on that one. And also I fired a shot after the tank had died, which was a wasted shot, of course. He's got strong frontal armor, but if you got a perfect shot, I did 387 damage on the first shot. I'm up to 4,950 damage. Now that Grill, who's way out in the corner, he's going to be, I think it's going to be, everyone's going to fire at him at the same time. So while I'm aiming, I miss my chance to get a kill shot in. But what I'm doing right now is I'm waiting for the TVP to go spot that last tank, even though I know there's a good chance I'm not going to be able to hit him because he's going to be behind the slope of the hill. But I figured that there's no way I would be able to approach him in time. And you can see I just barely got a kill shot in. That was a miss, obviously. It was the TVP who finished him off. I got 2 kills, 4,950 damage, and the score was 15-4. Hello, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com playing World of Tanks. The tank is the STRV-S1. This is a Swedish Tier 8 tank destroyer, and the map is Prokhorovka. I'm going to show you a sniping position that you can use in this game. This is an encounter battle. I'm obviously on the northern team. When I play encounter, I like to sit on the cap. And it's a great strategy, and it should be done every encounter battle. Unfortunately, people don't play with a greater strategy. Now, the reason why I like to do it on this particular map is because, number one, you could snipe at the enemy tanks while you're sitting on the cap. And number two, you want to get the counter going, the timer, because you want it to become a problem for the enemy. What's going to happen is I'm going to be in a firing position, but when the enemy comes to protect the cap, they're going to have to park somewhere where they can't do anything. They're just going to sit on the cap. They're not going to fire their guns. And my gun will be in the game. So the other thing that happens is if the enemy dies on the cap, a second enemy will have to come and replace his position, which I think is going to happen in this game. I'm not sure. So the game has changed a little bit. The trees are a little bit different now than they used to be. So I'm trying to figure out a good position where I want to park this particular tank. Unfortunately, I missed my first shot. It's an easy shot. Looks like he was tracked twice and now he's dead. You'll notice that if you turn to the right over here, you can shoot tanks such as that 53 TP. If he advances to that position, you can shoot at him through the gap. And there's been many games when I've done that. Those tanks are on the other side of the slope, so they're going to be difficult to hit at this particular time. If he had remained spotted, I would obviously have taken a shot at him. But he disappeared, so I decided not to take the shot. Because this tank does have a lot of rounds, it has 50 rounds, it probably would have been better for me to just take the shot. But it is something that you want to know when you start your game. In general, if you have a fast-firing gun, you probably have more ammunition. There's a few exceptions like the Tehran or the T-64 is another one that has, or the Locust is another example, fast-firing gun with fewer rounds. It's better to shoot the buildings down than to go over there and find the enemy. So sometimes what I do is I shoot the buildings down just so I can get shots on them. And I'm willing to spend 5 or 6 rounds in order to create that opening. Okay, so the first enemy tank was taken out of the game from the base, which means another enemy tank now has to come to protect the base, and he's got less than a minute to do it. It will pull the scout tanks out of the game because they're the fastest ones. They're the ones that can get to the cap in time in order to protect it. They did reset the cap on the other tank over there. The VK did. But I don't think he's going to survive. I think that VK is going to be out of the game also. And he's out of the game. So now the enemy has to send a third tank to the cap. And all this time, I haven't done any damage yet. However, this is a good sniping position. And the only reason why we haven't is because the enemy team hasn't shown itself very much. Let's see if we can get a shot at that one. Nope. And it's good because if they're on that far side of the hill, they can't take shots at my allies. Now, that was obviously a no-brainer. It was a clear shot to that VK, but it makes me spotted, and the tanks on the hill will be able to shoot at me, along with the enemy SPGs. There are 2 SPGs in the game. So I am moving, and the reason why I'm moving is in case the artillery decides to take a shot at me, and I moved back. I decided to move backwards, and there was an incoming artillery shot. I successfully avoided it. Finally got another shot in. Finally got a shot in against those tanks up on the hill. If you watch my other videos, you'll find that I have lots of videos where I've sat in this position and had a lot of very successful games playing from this position. So it is worth it to play here. Although in the other games I did have more coverage, so you're not going to get as much coverage. This is World of Tanks 1.2. 1.3 is about to come out. Got a kill and 1,000 damage and 166 spotting damage. So we attracted perhaps 5 tanks from the enemy team to go to the cap. And that was a third of the enemy team came to the cap to deal with the fact that I was sitting on it. Now's the time to leave the sniping position. So this is getting out of the scope of the video. This is about sniping positions. Let's move on to the next video. This is Dave from cheapbooks.com playing World of Tanks. The tank is a T-28 HTC, which is a heavy tank concept. This is an American Tier 7 tank destroyer. It's also a reward tank that you can earn by completing a campaign mission, which comes after the Stug 4. And the map is Paris. This tank is an excellent tank. I love playing it. It's got a great gun on it. It's fun to play. The armor is pretty good. If you're playing in Tier 7, you're going to have pretty good games. You're going to do an excellent job against lower tiers. Against the higher tiers, it's not that amazing. Maybe if you have APCR rounds and you like to play them, you might have amazing games against higher tiers. But I don't like to use APCR rounds. So I wanted to show you a sniping position that you can use in this game. Basically what you're doing is you're going to go to the E3 area, And you're going to shoot at the tanks that cross over in this gap at the start of the game. See, that guy doesn't have a repair kit, so he got tracked out in the open. Or maybe he has a manual kit and he was just too slow to respond. It helps if you have a spotter to spot those tanks crossing over. You're going to have trouble spotting them on your own because there's a lot of bushes in the way. That tank hasn't even made it to battle yet, and he's already got almost a third of his hit points left. You can see that there's an OHO that is approaching. If you look at the mini-map, you see that there's an OHO approaching that gap area. However, I think he's going to be afraid to cross. You'll notice that my team has taken a very forward position in the south. You know, the OHO is now reversing. He's afraid to go across that gap. I don't think I'm going to get a lot of shots against him. I do have 938 damage. I got 3 hits so far, 2 against the Tiger, 1 against the T-26E4. So there's another T-26E4 that showed up. He's also afraid to cross. So my allies are preventing those tanks from advancing because my allies have too much of a forward position in this particular game. But it does show you at the beginning of the game what you can do. What I do is I knock trees over, and you want to stay far enough behind it that you get some coverage. You're also going to get coverage from the bushes in front of you. It's a relatively safe position. Let's move on to the next video.